Welcome to the Edog Pseudo podcast. I'm Edog. This is my college dorm room. But let's talk some college football. How about that? Let's get right back to it. Alright, so let's just get some game picks. We got a whole bunch of games slated, maybe not as interesting as last week, but some really good ones. Let's start with a game that maybe not as big as some people would have thought, but North Carolina and Clemson. Now, this is a big rivalry game, obviously. So, who's going to win? What's going on? Obviously, Clemson coming into the year, a big playoff team that they thought they were going to win it. They were going to be a good contender. They had LSU to start off the year. And now they've really fallen, gone 1-3. Coming into the year for North Carolina, they have Bill Belichick coming in, the best coach in NFL history, most Super Bowls. And people coming in, they think, we got it. We're going to have, this turnaround year. At least we're going to be able to build up our program. And they have not had the start they thought. And now you got Dabo Swinney versus Bill Belichick, these big names coming into it. It's going to be in North Carolina. Really an interesting game. Clemson has not been good. I mean, you got Cade Klubnik, you got all these guys. He's got 6 touchdown passes on the year. He was supposed to be a Heisman favorite. But 5 of those have gone to one receiver. He does not have reliable targets. The other side of that, North Carolina does not have a very good offense, and their defense is also not very good. So it's not like either team is going to be moving the ball a whole lot, except for the fact that the other team doesn't really have a great defense. I think that, with that said, Clemson has the know-how in a college space in terms of their coaching to win games. Bill Belichick can win games, and he can be very smart with it. I think that Dabo Swinney can get the pullout, and he can do it. I think Clemson gets the win narrowly, and I don't think they're a playoff team at all. They're not going to revive their season, but I think they either get the narrow win or they just get embarrassed. But I'm going to give it to them this win, and Bill Belichick he stays home sad. Another game we got coming up, Air Force Navy. We're going to stick with the rivalry games before we get to some of the big ranked games. So this one, another big rivalry game. Obviously, it's not Army Navy. That will happen later in the year, but another one. Last year, Navy was, a really good team. Almost went undefeated for most of the season. They were undefeated. Then they played Notre Dame, and things kind of went out of hand there. But I think Navy, they're at home. Air Force on the road. Navy's been kind of beating up some people. I think Navy's going to get the win. As much as that hurts for me to say, as you can see, I got my Bryson Daly jersey on here. I'm an Army fan. It's just who I was, born in West Point. So, but I think the midshipmen are going to literally run over the Air Force in this one. So now that takes us into the team that probably needs a win this weekend, a convincing win the most. Are they going to get it? We'll see. This is Texas at Florida, the number 9th ranked Longhorns. This is going to be a very interesting one because Florida, by all accounts, has not been a very great team this year. They keep losing, but the teams they're losing to are highly ranked teams, right? They lost to LSU, and they lost to Miami. And the games were actually pretty close, both of those games. And their defense, Florida's defense, has been playing pretty good. Their offense has been very lackluster. Coming into the season, DJ Lagway was supposed to be really good. There was a lot of hype coming off of Lagway. But now that's kind of faded. It's kind of like, okay, well, he threw 5 interceptions against LSU. That defense kind of suffocated Florida's offense. So can Florida keep up against Texas, who, again, another quarterback coming into this year, Arch Manning? That's the big story. What is he going to do? And this is a game that Texas needs to not just win, but win big. In the SEC, this is a big win here if you can get this win on Florida, because other teams have not been winning big against Florida. So if you can win big against Florida here, this is the game that you can start to showcase, okay, maybe we are a team that actually is worthy of being a top 5 team. Right now they're ranked number 9. They have not showcased that. This was a really big week for Florida, or for Texas. It could be big for Florida too. This is a really big week for Texas, and if they don't get a huge win here, if Arch Manning and this offense in general, Steve Sarkisian, do not show up, it's going to just cement further that Texas is just a team that's around, but they're probably not a championship caliber team. They haven't shown championship caliber. We're still really early in the season. Teams are going to get better as things go on, but they haven't shown that they're championship caliber. This is a really big game for Texas. But I'm going Texas, obviously. I just think that Florida, it could keep this a little bit closer like they have in the past, because it, again, at Florida, and they've been doing this all year. They did it with LSU, who has a really good defense, not so much offense, and they've done it with Miami, who some people, a lot of analysts consider are the best team in the nation. So there are considerations about how good Florida's defense will hold up against this Texas offense that we've seen some ups and downs, mainly the ups against really bad teams, and then the downs against some all right teams, and then obviously when they played Ohio State week 1. So we'll see how that goes. And now let's get into our 2 kind of games of the weeks. Depends on where you go. We know where game day's going. I'm not game day. I'm just in my college dorm. But let's go. Number 3, Miami at number 16, Florida State. Or number 18, Florida State. So number 3, Miami at number 18, Florida State. My bad there. This is going to be a big one for both these teams. If Florida State plays how they played against Alabama, that's going to be big for them. If they played how they played against Virginia, they're going to lose. I think I got to take Miami, though. I mean, Carson Beck, I think this is why a lot of people have been considering them. I haven't honestly watched a lot of Miami, but Miami has been a force to be reckoned with. Mario Cristobal is over there, and he's actually doing a really good job this year with the Hurricanes. They've been recruiting. They've been getting in the transfer portal. Carson Beck has been playing better this year than he did last year at Georgia. When he was good, but he was more just like managing the game. He's doing it. Miami isn't, all just destroying everyone, but they are playing really well. And I think Florida State, they got that big win over Alabama. That was a huge thing for them, especially with the narrative of things, how it was going. Alabama edged them out in the playoff, or getting to the playoffs a couple years ago. And then they come in, and last year it was just a really bad year. And then this year they start off really hot. They beat Alabama, and they've just been winning until last week. And now they have to face Miami. I think that was, they had that big narrative win against Alabama. They're going to be at home for this game. Their defense is not great, Florida State's. They've allowed a lot of points from teams that maybe shouldn't have scored as many points, and that's going to be a problem against the Hurricanes. If you allow them to score, it's going to be really hard for you to continue scoring. Florida State's quarterback, Costello, he's going to have a good game if they want to win, but I still got Miami. Now, this is my personal game of the week because it could really go either way, and I'm really excited to see this one. This is going to be number 16, Vanderbilt, the Commodores, at number 10, Alabama. This was the one last year that people saw, and they were like, what is going on? Vanderbilt beat Alabama. It was just the big game. You get the rushing of the field, a huge game for Vanderbilt, and now they get to go to Alabama, being ranked, something Vanderbilt doesn't do. They haven't been ranked, I don't know how many years, but it's been in quite some time, because Vanderbilt just does not get ranked. They don't play that kind of football, and they're playing that kind of football. Diego Pavia, he gets another year this year after winning his lawsuit against the NCAA, and now he's playing, and he is playing good. He's putting that year to good use. And now this is the narrative. They want to beat Alabama. They want to show that it wasn't a fluke, that they're not just winning games and being ranked because they're just, winning games. They're winning games because they are good. They beat South Carolina, who's looking they were banged up in that game, but they also are just not looking as good this year as they were last year. But they beat South Carolina, and they beat them kind of commandingly. It was 31-7. Vanderbilt is a lot better team this year than they were even last year, and definitely better than any team that Vanderbilt has had in a long time. Now, all that said, this game is going to depend on Alabama. Now, Vanderbilt won't like that because they're like, hey, we control this game. They controlled it last year, and they came in and they just shocked Alabama. But if we get the Alabama that played Florida State, Alabama is going to lose. Vanderbilt can also show up and dictate that. But if we get the Alabama that played Georgia, I don't think Vanderbilt can overcome that. I don't see Vanderbilt being on the level of Georgia. Their defense is not quite at that level. Georgia has a really good defense. Their offense is producing at a high level, but how can you produce at a high level when your opponents are also at a high level? Alabama's really a wild card because they started off the year with that loss to Florida State, and then people were like, okay, well, maybe Alabama's just kind of lost it, and it was just continuing a trend from last year. Okay, Alabama, they've kind of gone out, and then they didn't look super impressive. They beat Wisconsin. It wasn't too impressive of a game, and then they had some, lesser teams that they were playing, not too big, big wins, but not, you know, games that you go out and you're like, okay, those are the games that you do win by a lot of points. So no one was looking at that and saying Alabama's back, right? They were just saying, okay, Alabama is. I mean, it just kind of got lost in the noise, and then they beat Georgia, and that is the big game. So what Alabama does is going to dictate. They've got the players. They have the offensive playmakers. Ryan Williams, he is an electrifying wide receiver, one of the best in college football. They got their quarterback, Ty Sampson, really a lot of guys that can make plays. Vanderbilt, also a lot of guys that can make plays. And they can go in and really shock Alabama. But if we get the Tide that played against Georgia, I do not see Vandy being able to go in and overcome that hurdle. If Alabama isn't firing on all those cylinders, though, Vanderbilt can very well beat them because this is a team that, again, they get some upsets when they're not, they're not a built team like they are this year. And so they can definitely get upsets when they are a built team, when they're firing on all cylinders. Let's do some bonus games. So I was supposed to have some people on this podcast, some people that are just kind of here. It's not really a podcast, but I'm supposed to have some people here. They've got some football players, so they're off in practice. Another guy, he's got to go home. But they got teams playing. My team isn't playing. My main team, the Oregon Ducks, they're not playing this week. But we do have some other bonus teams because some guys are playing. So Michigan State at Nebraska. That's one of my roommates' teams is Nebraska. So let's go to Nebraska and Michigan State. What teams are going to play? So Nebraska has actually had a pretty good season. I think that Michigan State, they have had some ups and downs. They're coached by a former head coach who's actually he coached for Oregon State, and he kind of started to elevate that program. Then he left, and Oregon State has obviously just been really bad since then. And now Michigan State's kind of starting to build up, trying to find that momentum. They've been kind of up and down. I think Nebraska is looking at a schedule that for the most part has a lot of winnable games. It just depends on them. This is definitely a winnable game. It's at home. Dylan Raiola is up and down. He's good quarterback, and he makes some good decisions, but he also makes some bad decisions. He's still developing a sophomore, true sophomore. I think that Nebraska will get the win. It could be close. I would not be surprised if it was a very close game. I'm going Nebraska for this one. And then obviously here in Iowa, we got number 14 Iowa State at Cincinnati. Somehow Iowa State is the underdog in this game. That shows how much the college football world just loves Iowa State. They've had some wins, some losses, or not some losses. They've had some wins. Cincinnati has some losses. Has a loss, I believe. I believe they're 4-1. This is at Cincinnati. This is a team that has the ability to move the ball on you. They can run, they can pass. They've got a pretty decent defense. Iowa State's kind of main claim to fame, though, I was talking about Cincinnati before. Iowa State, they've got Rocco Beck. who Gus Johnson, if you've ever heard of Gus Johnson, which you probably have, his whole thing about this is he really likes Rocco Beck. He likes Rocco Beck. He put him on his he's got it team, right? That he loves Rocco Beck. Rocco Beck's a good quarterback. They've got a pretty decent running game. Their defensive line, they do have an injury there, one of their star defensive linemen, but their defensive line's not terrible. Their secondary's not awful either. I think that it's going to be a really tough game. It could probably be close. Iowa State likes to play it close, especially you think of like the Cy-Hawk game. That one's always a close game. It was close this year, 15-20, I believe. Or no, that was Indiana versus Iowa. This one was the Cy-Hawk game was decided by field goal. But I think Iowa State does get the win, so my roommates will be happy when they see this because they'll see that I picked both their teams. But yeah, I think Iowa State, they're going to Cincinnati and they're going to win, get the upset. The number 14 team goes into an unranked team and they get the upset. So that should happen. That's what I see. Last week when I picked, I obviously didn't record this, but I did pick and I was 10-2. So we'll see how that goes this week, obviously. But I think that these are the teams. We obviously got our stuff. But, we'll see how this goes. I want to thank you all for joining me on this really weird journey. I don't really know what this is. It's a pseudo podcast, I guess. So thank you and welcome. Expect more to come out. I don't know what it is either. So we'll learn as we go. See you next time.